Hello, welcome along to Sportsbet TV. Paul Alster here with you with my New Year's Eve bulletin, the last one of 2022. I hope you've had a really great Christmas. And of course, I'll take an opportunity to wish you a very, very happy New Year. And I hope you have a wonderful, happy, healthy, successful, and prosperous 2023. Well, it has to be said that the last quarter of 22 has been frustrating. We haven't had the success that I've seen in the first three quarters, but nonetheless, the year will end with followers of Sportsbet to level stakes to all my recommended bets to the nominal £10 each way stake, very nearly £700 up, regardless of before the couple of tips that I have for you for New Year's Eve. So it's been another profitable year. Hopefully, 2023 will see us being even more profitable along the way. If you're joining me for the first time, press the subscribe button just below this screen, and then you'll be able to follow me into the new year and beyond. Well, very quickly, last Boxing Day, I gave you a couple of horses. One was Volatile, who was very well back from 7-1 down to around 9-2, but he just ran a very lackluster kind of a race. Just was never going well enough in the King George. That was really disappointing. And then later on, Storm Dennis, another one very well backed, didn't. I put him up at 33, rank outsider, but he didn't do as well as we hoped there. So that was a bit of a damp squib on Boxing Day. But hopefully New Year's Eve might be a different story. Here's the first of my two selections for you, and they're both at Newbury, which is the feature meeting on Saturday, New Year's Eve. I'll take you first to the 115, a 2-mile handicap chase. Now, the forecasting good to soft ground, but I've been looking at the Met Office forecast. It's possible it may ease because I think there is some rain forecast overnight and into Saturday. So we'll see. But in the 11-runner race, Gamma Red, I think, is the one that they're forecasting as favourite for Venetia Williams, which for me is a bit of a surprise. It's not run for 11 months. It's won a bumper, and it was a maiden hurdle winner. Goes straight into chasing, straight into a handicap against experienced horses off 115. That's a very low mark if it's got ability. But this is a pretty decent race, and I wouldn't want to be taking too short a price about Gamma Red. It'll be interesting to see how the market shapes up. Chris Gordon, he does well with his string, and he's got Only Money here, who's a horse with plenty of experience against seasoned handicappers, a winner at Plumpton and Worcester in September and October, over 2 miles in handicap chases, and a fair second over course and distance last time out, although well held by the winner. He's been dropped a pound. Last year's winner of this race is back for more. Sam Drinkwater trains Gallic Geordie. It's £9 higher now, but it did run well on its reappearance when second at Lingfield over 2.5 miles in November. And then it fell at the second last at Lingfield 10 days ago when it was still there with a chance. So it's turning out again fairly quickly after that fall 2 out. It had pretty much a full race. And that for me is a little bit off-putting, although clearly it goes well at the track and at this time of year, but is £9 higher than last year. And then John Joe O'Neill has a gelding called Sealiway, who was pulled up soon after making a very bad mistake at False Lass on its reappearance 5 weeks ago. It had travelled quite nicely to that point. So it wouldn't surprise me if this horse bounced back because it was pretty progressive last term. It won 3 times last year. So any market move for Sealiway would be worth noting. But my choice here is Earth Company. And Earth Company is trained by Philip Hobbs and is the mount of Tom O'Brien. And he's an interesting runner because he won a Taunton Novices Hurdle in November of last year. And then he went on to win a Wincanton Handicap Hurdle last December. He disappointed after that at Kempton in January and then wasn't seen again until he made his chasing bow over this very course and distance 5 weeks ago. Now, he'd been off a long time and he was a bit fizzy and a bit fresh. Did a bit too much in the early stages of the race, but he showed ability over fences. And he was pushed along going towards 3 out, and he gradually faded without being knocked around. He'll definitely be better for the run. The one thing I would say, if there's an absolute deluge, it wouldn't help his cause, but good to soften places. I think he'd cope with that. But he's been dropped £3 since that run, first time out this season. He will be sharper. And I think it's interesting that despite a big weight here of 12 stone 1, and as a novice taking on experienced horses, Philip Hobbs, who could have had a choice of running him against novices, has chosen to bring him here. So I think they have a good opinion of this horse. And I'm prepared to take a chance on him because the odds, I feel, rather underestimate his chance. For me, he will be single figures. But at the moment, as of this late Friday morning recording, he's 16 to 1 each way. And that includes for 4 places with Betfred, William Hills and Unibet. So I commend Earth Company to you at Newbury on Saturday, New Year's Eve, in the 2-mile handicap chase at 1:15. And then also at Newbury on Saturday, the big race, the Grade 1 Challow Hurdle. Now, this is nearly always a very, very good novices race over the extended 2.5 miles. So it's a bit of a rehearsal for the Ballymore at the Cheltenham Festival in many ways. And the trainer who's hit the target the last 2 years is Paul Nicholls. He's won it with 2 very good horses. Subsequent King George VI chase winner, Braveman's Game, and the very talented Stage Star are the last 2 winners of this race for Paul Nicholls. And he's got one that the bookies are running scared of. It's called Hermes Allen. And it was really impressive when it won at Cheltenham in Grade 2 company last time out, over just a little bit further than this. And it definitely looks the one to beat. There's no doubt about it. But at 5 to 4, and with so many horses in this race being last time out winners, and many of them unexposed and open to improvement, it doesn't represent on the face of it any great value. He may well go and win, Hermes Allen, but 5 to 4 isn't really a working man's price. And I suspect that, like me, most of you are still working men or women. So Hermes Allen, not for me. Now, Nicky Henderson, still with a very good strike rate this season. Attica, who I think he's from the family, the extended family of Altior. He won nicely over 2 miles at Kempton in November in a little race. And then he stayed on well to win at Cheltenham in a novices hurdle over 2 miles 1 last time out. He's going up in trip and a big step up in class. But obviously, Henderson has so many good yardsticks that to throw him in a Grade 1, some would say, is a tip in itself. But he does have it to prove at this level. But that's the case with many of the horses in this field, including Crambo, trained by Fergal O'Brien. He's unbeaten in 2 Huntingdon bumpers last term and a very pleasing win at Ascot on his hurdling bow in a maiden hurdle 6 weeks ago. That was over nearly 2.5 miles, so the trip should be no problem. Only thing really with Crambo, who's unbeaten, is that the form of those who finished behind him at Ascot hasn't really franked that victory. So I'm prepared to look elsewhere. Now, Nigel Twiston-Davies has a horse who's one to keep an eye on here called Idalco Bihu. And this one made a winning debut at Worcester under rules, winning by 14 lengths in October. And that was on soft ground over 2.5 miles. So he'll cope with conditions and he stays. Nigel wouldn't be a trainer who throws his horses in at the deep end without fancying them. He normally brings them along steadily. So the fact he's stepping this one up from a Worcester little 2.5 mile race to a Grade 1 is, again, rather like Nicky Henderson, almost a tip in itself. So I think he's an interesting runner. And then you've got the Skeltons, who you've always got to have respect for. Vicky Vale is their runner. Like so many others in this race, this one open to improvement. It won by 17 lengths at Hereford on its rules bow, but I'm always a little bit sceptical about Hereford form. I don't think it's a track whose form tends to stand up at the bigger race courses, but maybe this will be the exception that proves the rule. My recommendation, though, here is the horse that comes over from Ireland. And we know how powerful the Irish are, strength in depth in the novice divisions. And Paul Nolan has a horse called Joyeux Machine, and Sean O'Keefe is going to be riding. Now, this is a horse who's always been held in high regard by connections. He won a Navan bumper in January of this year, And then they sent him to Cheltenham for the festival bumper. But you may recall it was run in an absolute quagmire. And the horse just couldn't get his legs out of the mud. He just wasn't suited by it. And sensibly, he was pulled up. As far as it goes for this season, well, he finished third on his debut. That was in heavy ground, which he managed to get through. It wasn't quite as sticky as at Cheltenham, but it wouldn't have been ideal. But it was a better surface last time out at Fairyhouse, where he was up against horses who came into the race from good stables, from the likes of Willie Mullins, Joseph O'Brien, and Gordon Elliott. And he came through very powerfully between the final two flights to hit the front. And once he hit the front, he was absolutely powering away in the closing stages. That was over 2 miles. And as soon as I saw that, I said to myself, this is a 2.5 mile. He's only just got going, really, between the final two. So the fact he goes up to the 2.5 mile trip here, that he's going up significantly in class, but with the Irish having such good form in the novices division, I think he's got a big chance here. And Paul Nolan's a trailer I like a lot. He doesn't make his trips to Britain without fancying them. And 8-1 is available each way at the time of this recording with Paddy Power and Betfair and Parry Match and Bet Victor. So I think he's a sporting bet. I'd rather bet him at 8-1 each way than Hermes Allen at 5-4 for the win. And he is my choice for the Challow Hurdle at Newbury at 3 o'clock. So those are my two for New Year's Eve. A quick reminder to you that if you want to join me at Patreon, where I have my premium subscriber service, we'll be going into the new year with some great hopes and, of course, building up over the big trials meetings towards the Cheltenham Festival. There's a lot to look forward there. You can check out all the details of that on the link just below this screen. You're very welcome to join, and you can join and enjoy regular tipping there on Fridays, Saturday and Sunday racing, as well as the festivals. And you're always at liberty to leave whenever you choose. There's no times. So from me, Paul Alster, final bulletin of 2022, wishing you the best of luck for New Year's Eve and a very happy New Year. Bye-bye for now.